Hare Krishna, can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the ninth chapter of Sri Bhagavad Gita. The chapter is titled as the most confidential knowledge or Rajaguhya Yoga. So Krishna starts. Uh, Krishna has discussed about the confidential knowledge, which is the knowledge of the difference between the body and soul, the knowledge of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, the Guni Bhuta Bhakti, are the are those paths in which bhakti is secondary. That is confidential knowledge, which was described in the first six chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Then Krishna spoke about the more confidential knowledge, which is Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti or predominant bhakti in the seventh and eighth chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Then pure devotional service is the most confidential knowledge, which he is going to discuss in the ninth and tenth chapters. So he starts by telling, Idam tute guhyatamam pravakshami anasuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yadgyatva mokshasya ashubhat. My dear Arjuna, I am going to speak to you guhyatamam, the most confidential knowledge, guhyatamam jnanam. Why? Because anasuyave, because you are non-envious. Vijnana sahitam, along with realization of me. You are going to hear the most secret knowledge of bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, and how through that Shuddha Bhakti you can realize me. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvatah. So, and yad gyatva mokshasya ashubhat. And by knowledge of this, by acquiring this knowledge, you will escape from all the suffering that is mentioned here. Then he says, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Midamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. So there are 7 characteristics of the Shuddha Bhakti that is mentioned. Rajavidya, this is the highest type of bhakti of various different types of bhakti. The Pradhani Bhuta, Guni Bhuta, and within Pradhani Bhuta there is Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, and all those kinds of bhakti. Of which Shuddha Bhakti is the topmost. And Raja Guhyam, there is Guhya, Guhyatara, and Guhyatama. As we saw, Shuddha Bhakti is only Guhyatama. Pavitram Midamuttamam. There is no process which is as purifying as Bhakti. In fact, in all the other processes, the purifying potency comes from the element of Bhakti only. So that is why it is called as Pavitram Idam Uttamam. And then the fourth characteristic is Pratyakshaavagamam. The results of bhakti can be directly realized. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktir anyatra chesha trikayeka kala. So therefore, para isha anubhava virakti, these are all practically realizable things, which is what here Krishna is telling, that the results of bhakti can be practically realized. And dharmyam means even though the practitioners of bhakti may not be following the limbs of varnashrama, but one should not think, oh, the practitioners of bhakti are not practicing dharma, because dharma is practiced according to one's adhikar. Because the practitioners of bhakti are following the limbs, following the dharma which is recommended for them. Therefore, one should understand that they are not adharmic, they are in fact practicing parodharma. So therefore, even though devotees may not be seen to be practicing the limbs of varna and ashrama diligently, one should not think that they are adharmic. Rather, one should understand that they are practicing the topmost dharma and the dharma which is prescribed for them. Mm. So, mm, so and then susukam kartum. The practice of bhakti is very, very pleasing because the other limbs of jnana, ashtanga, etc., they involve um, you know non-engagement of the senses, refraining sensory engagement, which is very difficult. Hmm. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that कार्यते हि आवश्यक कर्म सर्व प्रकृति जैर गुणैः. नहीं, what is the beginning of that verse? Uh, uh, what is the beginning of that verse? Can someone help me out? Uh, कार्यते हि आवश्यक कर्म सर्व प्रकृति जैर गुणैः. The third chapter verse. Oh my God, my memory is. Um, oh my God. Uh, नहीं कश्चित् क्षणमपि, sorry, yeah, नहीं कश्चित् क्षणमपि जातु तिष्ठत्यकर्मकृत् कार्यते हि आवश्यक कर्म सर्व प्रकृति जैर्गुणैः. So Krishna says that no one can remain not performing um, any action even for a moment, uh, which means no conditioned soul can remain without engagement even for a moment. Why? Karyate hi avashak karma. Every conditioned soul will be forced to act helplessly due to the prakriti jay gunaihi, due to the gunas of prakriti which manifest in the form of vasanas. The vasanas will helplessly push them to act anyways. So therefore, to remain non-engaging, or to not engage in the engaging the senses is very, very difficult for a conditioned soul. So bhakti gives ample opportunities to engage the senses of the living entities according to their likes actually. So therefore bhakti is Shuddha Bhakti is Susukam Kartum. It's very pleasant to perform. And Avyayam. Avyayam means that which is eternal. Bhakti is practiced eternally, at all times, even at when one reaches the spiritual world and attains Krishna Prema, still bhakti is practiced. The limbs of bhakti are practiced not as a sadhana, but as an anubhava, as a natural byproduct of the prema within their heart. They engage in these activities. So only bhakti is beyond. Only bhakti has Shuddha Bhakti has these 9 qualities. Sorry, the 7 qualities that is mentioned here. Then Ashraddadana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani. But one who does not have faith in this path of bhakti, and in fact, bhakti is the only path in which faith is the only prerequisite. Faith is the only prerequisite only for bhakti. The other limbs of the other yogas have multiple prerequisites apart from faith. But Shuddha Bhakti is the only path in which Shraddha is the only limb. But if one does not have faith in this path of bhakti, again here it is mentioned, Asya Dharmasya Ashraddha Dana Purusha. Those who do not have faith in this dharma. So bhakti is dharma. It is not just dharma, but it is parodharma. Savai pumsam parodharmo yato bhakti radokshite. Right. So aprapyamam. So one cannot attain Krishna if one does not have this bhakti, faith in this bhakti. And they have to stay within samsara. And understanding this bhakti starts with understanding the Aishwarya Gyan of the Supreme Lord, especially that Aishwarya with which he maintains and protects this material world. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham tesho avastitah. I pervade this whole universe in my invisible form as Paramatma. All living entities are situated in me because I am their cause, but I am not in them because I am completely detached from this whole material manifestation. Nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogamaishwaram. And this simultaneous this dependence of the living entities on me and my protection and my absolute detachment from the living entities is due to my inconceivable potency. So even though I maintain and protect them, but I am not I am not attached to them. So this is due to my inconceivable power. And then he says, so this can be understood by this example. Yathakashasthito nityam vayur sarvatra mahan tata sarvani bhutani matstani tyupadaraya. He says that just as the ether supports and supports this movement of the wind, it provides the wind the space to move about. But still, the ether is completely detached from wind, and the wind is completely detached from ether. In the same way, I am detached from the material world, which I maintain and protect. So now, someone may say that, how is this? Uh, you said that this is inconceivable. Now, how is it inconceivable? It is no longer inconceivable because you have given an example to illustrate your the inconceivability. So it has become conceivable now. He says, no. How has it become conceivable? Because ether and wind are both inanimate. By nature, they don't have any attachment because inanimate objects do not have any attachment. They are always detached. Uh, But amongst conscious beings, when when a conscious entity controls and protects some other person or an object, it can only be due to dependence and attachment. Uh, Only in if that conscious entity happens to be myself, then you see detachment, but yet there is perfect maintenance and control. Uh, so, so that's what he says here. And then he continues that Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpadav Visrijamyaham. O Kaunteya, O Arjuna, all living entities will enter my Prakriti. All things will enter my Prakriti at the time of destruction, and at the time of creation, I again create everything. So, how this? Not only am I the cause of the maintenance of this material world, but I am also the cause of creation and destruction. From me, everything emanates, and at the time of dissolution, everything enters back into my body and rests within my body. Prakritim swam avashtabhya visrjami punah punah bhutagramamimam kritsnam avasham prakriter vashat. So, being situated in Prakriti, which belongs to me, I create again and again all the living entities. I create means I manifest all the living entities from my body, which rest within my body at the time of dissolution. So, in this way, creation, maintenance, and destruction, everything is helplessly dependent on me. You should understand this, O Arjuna. Nachamam tani karmani nibadnanti dhananjaya udasina vadasinam asaktam teshu karmasu. Someone may ask Krishna, but Krishna, in this material world, anyone who engages in action, they are bound by that action. You are performing so many such actions in this material world. Practically the whole material world manifestation, multiple universes are functioning due to uh, your uh, they are functioning due to um, your empowerment. And how is it that then you must also be bound by these activities? Krishna says no. Bondage occurs due to attachment to activities. I am not attached to any of these activities. I am present just like an indifferent person. So therefore, I am not bound. Uh, because of my actions, because of this complete detachment, about which I have already mentioned it to be Yoga Maishwaram. This is my inconceivable potency that I may engage in such activities, but those activities are but I am completely detached from those activities. Then he says, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Hetunanena Kaunteya Jagad Viparivartate. By my direction as Karanodaka Sai Vishnu, Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. This Prakriti gives rise to moving and non-moving entities only by my direction. By my means by my expansion, Karanodaka Sai Vishnu's direction. But because Krishna is avatari, therefore he can use the word Maya, even though it is actually carried out by Karanodaka Sai Vishnu. But because Karanodaka Sai Vishnu is his expansion, the Amshi can definitely use such terminologies. Anena hetuna jagad viparivartate. By this cause, the universes appear again and again. So even though it is very clear that Krishna is the maintainer, he is the protector, he is the creator, he is the destroyer, everything, and actually, but still, avajananti mam muda manushim tanumashritam param bhava majananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. But still, there are two meanings given to this particular verse. The generic meaning is that, but still, fools think that when I appear in my human-like form, still fool thinks that I am just like any other ordinary human being. Uh, uh, but so such people are fools. They are fools means fools because they are bereft of this knowledge, or they are bereft of the means to acquire this knowledge about my transcendental nature, which is bhakti. So, because so here fools means they are unfortunate because they are bereft of the means to acquire the knowledge about the transcendental nature of Krishna. So, when Krishna appears in a human-like form, because he looks just like any other human being, they think that Krishna is also just like any other human. He has a material body like that. Mama Parambhava Majananto. They do not know that I am the great Lord of the Brahman higher than everyone else. Okay. Another explanation given to this verse is when I appear as Krishna, because I appear in a medium-sized form with only two hands, and so therefore people think that I am just an avatara of the Purusha avatars of Karanodaka Sai Vishnu. But what they do not understand is Mama Parambhava Majananto. They do not know I am the source of all the forms, including the Purushavasaras. In fact, the Purushavasaras are my expansion of the expansion of the expansion. So they do not know this. So they are also addressed here as Muda. Those who do not know the conclusion of the Shastras, which is Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. So if one, not knowing the transcendental nature of Krishna's form, appearance, and activities, thinking it to be material, what is the result of that? Mogasha, Moga Karmano, Moga Jnana Vichetasa, Rakshasim, Asurim Cheva, Prakritim, Mohinim Shrita. So such people who reject the form of the Lord, considering it to be a material form, if they are devotees who worship that form thinking it to be material, then their desire of attaining any transcendental result like Salokya, everything will be baffled. If they are karmis, then they will not attain the material fruits which they try to attain by uh, performance of their karma. And if they are jnana yogis who are performing that path of jnana to attain liberation, if they consider the form of Krishna to be material, then they will not attain liberation. Okay. So rather, Rakshasim Asurim Chaiva Prakritim Mohinim Shita. They assume the nature of Rakshasas and Asuras, which means they they the nature of Rakshasas and Asuras is Tamogun and Rajogun. They attain those natures and they rot in this material world. On the other hand, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Devim Prakriti Mashrita Bhajanti Ananya Manaso Gyatva Bhutadim Abhyayam. But on the other hand, Mahatmana, the fortunate souls, those living entities who have had the fortune of coming in touch with um, great devotees and accumulating Agyata Sukriti, because of which they have developed faith in Bhakti. But some fortunate souls, Mahatmanaha, Daivim Prakritim Ashritaha, they attain the Daivi Prakriti. Daivi Prakriti means what? Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Daiva Asurastad Viparyaya. Daivi Prakriti means the nature by which one worships the Supreme Lord. That is Daivi Prakriti. So Daivim Prakritim Ashritaha means they take shelter of the nature, divine nature by which one worships the Supreme Lord. And how they take shelter of that nature? Mahatmana. Because they are fortunate enough to come in touch with devotees by whose association they get inspired. Okay. Bhajanti Ananya Manaso, and such personalities worship my human form with no distractions. Bhajanti Ananya Manaso. Gyatva Bhutadim, knowing that this two-handed form of Krishna is the cause of all things, including the other incarnations, including the Purushavataras. Avyayam, and it is an indestructible transcendental form and not a material form. So, in order to accept in this way, one should have that faith which is born out of Sukriti, which is born out of association of Vaishnavas. So, therefore, this morning Shivakumar Prabhu asked this question as to how do we explain to the Mayavadis? So, the answer is you cannot, because they may not be Mahatmas. If they are not Mahatmas, then they will not be able to understand. Right? So, therefore, it is very natural. Atmavan manyate jagat. People generally think that, if something is logical to me, it should be universally logical to everyone. This is the way mostly we think. But upon careful deliberation, we understand that no, this is not the case actually. So, therefore, if something is very logically reasonable for me, it should be logically reasonable for everyone. No, this is not true. So, then Krishna continues. So, what is the meaning of bhajanti ananya manaso? How do they? What is the meaning of worshipping Krishna without any distraction? He says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. So this means Satatam mam upasate. They worship me at all times. So we had a long discussion about the meaning of the word Satatam. Satatam means possessing a constant, consistent faith in worshipping Krishna. Even though the engagement in the actual engagement may not be continuous or consistent, but What is consistent is the faith to engage in the worship is consistent. So Satatam Mam Upasate Bhaktya. They worship me at all times with devotion. And what are the what form does that worship take? Kirtayantaha. They sing about Krishna's glories, name, form, glories, pastimes. Dridhavrataha. They follow strict vows, which are prescribed in the Bhakti Shastras. Nityayukta. They always, their goal is to become an associate of Krishna. Yatantaha. And for that, they wander about to gain the association of the Vaishnavas, which means they understand the importance of Vaishnava Sangha in attaining that goal which they are aspiring for. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya. And they also offer respects and other devotional limbs they practice for the pleasure of Krishna. So this is the practice of pure devotional service. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Like that. But on the other hand, there may be people who worship Krishna in indirect ways. Jnana yajnena chapyanye yajanto mam upasate ekatvena pratatvena bahuda vishvato mukam. Ekatvena pratatvena bahuda vishvato. Of course, different acharyas explain it in slightly different ways. So he says that there are other people who worship Krishna in very indirect ways. The three types, and this is called as Jnana Yajna, through knowledge sacrifices. There are three types of this. One is called as Ekatvena. Ekatvena means Ahangropasana, thinking of the Lord as non-different from oneself, only for the purpose of worship. This is a very strange practice. This is not exactly Mayavad, but this is very, according to pure devotional practices, this is an offensive, this is a slightly offensive way of thinking. But this is not exactly Mayavad. They don't actually believe that the deity form and themselves are absolutely and in all ways non-different, but still there is some kind of non-difference which they assume. Okay. And Pritatvena means worshipping the various other forms, considering them to be the limbs of the Supreme Lord. Considering Indra to be the limb of the hands of Krishna, one may worship Indra, thinking that that form is, considering that form to be a limb of Krishna, like that. This is Pritatvena or Pratikopasana. Ahangropasana, Pratikopasana, and Vishwarupa Upasana. Bahuda Vishwato Mukam. Worshipping the universal form. So these are the indirect ways of worshipping Krishna. So, so therefore, if you see, there is pure devotional service in which there is direct worship and there are pure goals. Then there is mixed devotional service, which is direct worship but impure goals. And then there is this indirect worship or the Jnana Yajna worship, which is mentioned here in this verse, which is indirect worship and impure goals. This is even more inferior. Okay. So, like that. So this is even more inferior. So Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, these are superior to this Jnana Yajna because at least there is direct worship of the personal form of the Lord. But not like this Ahangropasana or Pratikopasana or Vishwarupa Upasana. It is not like that. Anyways, this is where we ended our discussion last week. So before we continue today's discussion, if there are any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share as add, We can take those questions first before we move on to today's discussion. You can please raise your hands if you have some discussion points or questions. Yes, Shamli Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Prabhuji. Shamlal Das here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu, I can hear.
So, Prabhuji, I just wanted to get this clarified. You said mudhas, people who think of Krishna as an expansion of Mahavishnu are also mudhas, because I know some people and back in my village, they worship Krishna as the Lord, but consider him as an expansion of Mahavishnu. The practices are almost like us.
Yes.
So, are they called? They would be mudhas?
What to speak of in your village? There are bona fide other sampradayas, the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. They consider Krishna as an expansion or as an avatar of Lord Narayana. So, but according to our Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas, they are Mudas. I mean, Muda sounds a very harsh word. That's why we take objection to it. But here, Muda means they are not cognizant of this fact that actually Krishna is the source of all other forms. So their Muda means this particular aspect of knowledge, they do not know this particular aspect of knowledge in that sense. So Muda means it's not a very serious criticism here when you take that particular, for this particular meaning. It's not a serious criticism. It just means that it's a very confidential knowledge. That's
Okay. Okay. So, but the whole point is they are also devotees, right? If you say Sri Vaishnavas, they are
yeah,
also
yes, yes,
devotees,
yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They are
right?
devotees. Yes, correct, correct, correct.
And
So therefore, that word refers Mogasha Moga Karmano does not refer to them. It refers to the other meaning where someone thinks that the body of the Supreme Lord is material. For them, all their efforts to attaining perfection will be baffled. But if someone accepts Lord Narayana to be the source of Krishna, then that is not the Mogasha Moga Karmano verse does not apply to them. So Mogasha Moga Karmano applies only to those who consider the form of the Lord to be material, like that.
okay, yes. Thank you for the clarification. Just happened.
Yes,
Thank you, bro.
thank you. Okay. Shivakumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu. Prabhu, two questions on 9:14, Prabhu. First question, the continuity, Prabhu, Satatam. I also kind of listened to your other lectures, Prabhu. And I see that the continuity is, I'm speaking from my experience, Prabhu, is heavily dependent on our experience also in Bhakti. And you also talked about in some of the lectures that the faith over a period of time has to be supported or substantiated by favorable experience. So I just wanted to hear from you, Prabhu, what constitutes favorable experience is something that I wanted to hear from you, Prabhu.
What constitutes favorable experience is um, experiences which will enhance our attraction to Krishna, which will enhance our attraction to the Vaishnavas, which will enhance our attraction to the process of bhakti, which will enhance our attraction to the parampara, which will enhance our attraction to the bhakti shastras, these kind of experience.
Because there is, being just a beginner, Prabhu, I'm still kind of under the influence of this expectation that the material situation has to be conducive for bhakti is something that I consider to be a favorable experience. So that's the background of this question, Prabhu. Which is not the case, especially in the face of Anartha Nivritti. So,
yeah, it is natural. It is very natural that in the early stages, we we ascribe the unsteadiness in our practice of devotional service to external circumstances. And to some extent, it may be true also. But when we mature little bit more uh, in devotional service, then we will be able to see deeper causes for the instability in our practice of devotional service. So, but it is natural in early stages. It's very natural that we will see that, oh, if only this external things can be adjusted, my practice of bhakti would be so much more nice. It is very natural. We cannot actually say, because unless one matures through that particular stage, one will not be able to see those deeper causes of instability in our practice of devotional service. So it is very natural. We don't have to deny it, because at that time, it's not the lack of knowledge. It's not that today you know about okay, maybe I'm because of my immaturity in devotional service, I am seeing that an external cause is the cause of my unstable bhakti. So now that I know it, then it's not that you are now immediately convinced that that is not the cause. No, knowledge does not lead to immediate maturation in bhakti. So still you may feel, yes, this knowledge is there, but still I feel that if I make this external adjustment, my bhakti would become steady. It's natural, no problem. So we can endeavor to do that, but gradually, and to some extent, it may change also. But gradually, we will start seeing some more deeper, our own uncontrolled mind and senses. We will be able to see them very clearly as the major obstacles in our unstable devotional service. Like that.
Okay. Thank you. I think basically you are connecting to the other things that you talked about, different stages of the devotional service itself, Prabhu. So maybe I will listen to it, Prabhu. Yeah, I'm just getting the connection now. Prabhu, second question, Prabhu. You talked about the devotees, the way the devotees interact with others versus the materialists, how they interact with others. The worldly, mundane qualities outwardly may appear to be good, but not necessarily reflecting the purity of the jiva. In terms of respect, you talked about, Prabhu, in the last week. So I have the question, Prabhu, here. It's just my reflection, Prabhu. Maybe you can correct me, validate. I see there are two things, Prabhu. One is purity and the other is maturity. This is how I kind of observed, Prabhu. In general, the devotees have purity in the heart, but it may not necessarily be reflected in the maturity of interaction. Whereas in the worldly people, they may have mundane quality through which they may appear to be very matured in their interactions, but deep inside there is a lack of purity.
Correct.
So I just wanted to hear from you, Prabhu. Over time, does this purity translate into maturity also, or not necessarily?
Yeah, definitely it will mature. Because if there is pure faith, which means then our practice becomes pure. Then we start seeking pure association. And in pure association, if we engage in pure practices, naturally, then the anartha nivritti becomes more and more pronounced. And when the anartha nivritti becomes more pronounced, then naturally one matures. By maturity, what matures? The strength of faith and the strength of devotional service matures. So it becomes, a Kanishtadhikari becomes a Madhyamadhikari, and a Madhyamadhikari becomes an Uttamadhikari. So then naturally, when that progress happens, then their dealings with others also becomes much more refined.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. There are some questions in chat box. There's one more question in the chat box. Ahangropasana is worshipping, considering oneself to be God. it is not exactly like that. It is for the purpose of worship, because according to the Tantra Shastras, if you cannot perfectly worship a form without identifying with it. Even though this is not exactly Mayavad, but this is very much detrimental to pure devotional service. But I cannot, there is not much details given about this Ahangropasana, what is the rationale behind it and all that. But I mean, it is just a detail. We don't have to necessarily know about it, because this is a very, very, very inferior form of worship, very indirect form of worship, and definitely Vaishnavas are not expected to perform this kind of worship. Okay, anything else before we move forward to today's discussion? Okay, if there is no further questions, then let's continue. So now, okay, there is a question in the chat box. Jnana Yajna, this is Jnana Yoga and the Upanishads, are they the same? Yeah, the Upanishads, okay, yes, maybe you can verbally ask, that would be much easier. Yes, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, that
Yes.
was a typo. I wanted to know if Jnana Yajna and the Upasanas, three Upasanas mentioned, are they the same? Because when the impersonalists organize their lectures, they say Jnana Yajna and they give different titles.
Oh, like that. Yes.
Uh,
So they say Gita Jnana Yajna or something like that.
yeah.
The three kinds of upasanas and the what are the three kinds of upasanas?
No, in this shloka it says no Jnana Yajnena cha anye, and then the three types of upasanas given Ekatvena,
Ekatvena, Pratatvena, Bahuda Vishvato.
So there the words are used, Jnana Yajna. So what is referred to in that Jnana Yajna?
So Jnana Yajna means this has a predominance of Jnana in it, the practice of Jnana. So, so in that sense, it is called as, like for example, the Ahangropasana, Pratikopasana, and the Vishwarupa Upasana. They are all in one sense like part of the Jnana practices only. So therefore it is called as Jnana Yajna. And also this is an inferior type of Jnana because there is no direct worship of Krishna. So ideally, in proper Jnana Yoga practices, there must be direct worship of the personal form of the Lord. But here there is no direct worship of the personal form of the Lord. Therefore, this is considered to be a very indirect form of worship, like that. So, yeah.
And one more question based on the lecture last week. You explained that to do bhakti, there is no consideration of purity.
Yes.
So I have two questions in this regard, because there was one quotation from Haribhakti Vilas that ideally we should take bath and then chant. Though initially I was preached to that doesn't matter whether you take bath or not, but somebody posted a quotation from Haribhakti Vilas that it's better to take bath and then chant. That's one thing. And
Okay,
secondly, there may be no there may be sorry. Okay,
yeah, go ahead. So it is better. There is a difference. So better, is not a better does not indicate better indicates favorability rather than non-negotiability. So there is to say that bhakti does not depend on purity does not mean that if one it does not mean purity has no influence in bhakti. What it means is that bhakti is not completely dependent on purity. but the practitioner may be to some extent dependent on purity. So, while the limbs of karma or jnana, etc., without purity one cannot perform at all. But for bhakti, there is no that sense of non-negotiable dependence on purity. So definitely for chanting, one may have to take bath and chant, because it definitely, makes the physical body fresh and the subtle body also fresh. It makes the mind fresh. But having said that, it is not that it is impossible to chant without taking bath. So there are certain things which may be anukul or favorable, but favorable does not necessarily mean non-negotiable. So
Okay.
purity is a non-negotiable thing for the other practices. It may be favorable for bhakti.
No. Okay. And second point was maybe for bhakti, anybody can take, any kind of person.
Yeah.
But for initiation, some regulation has to be there, no?
Yeah. So dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantam. So if definitely by chanting the Harinam, when one reaches a particular level of purification by the process of bhakti, then one becomes qualified for diksha. So, and that qualification one develops by one sincere practice of devotional service. So, yes, for diksha there are qualifications, but for practicing bhakti itself, there are no prerequisites.
Actually, your words were that what is wrong if people attracted to same gender get initiated?
Oh, like that.
So,
Okay, let me clarify that.
Yeah.
Whether it is attraction to the opposite gender or the same gender, it is in either ways a material attraction only. So, but if someone says that I am completely convinced that same gender people can get married and live together like that, that is unfavorable. But if someone, just because they may have an attraction for the same gender, that in itself does not necessarily disqualify them from practicing bhakti or even getting initiated, as long as they are willing to put efforts to overcome that inclination. But having that inclination in itself does not disqualify them from either practicing bhakti or getting initiated.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay.
otherwise, how can they progress? If they can't practice bhakti, they can't get initiated. How will they overcome those tendencies?
So the inclination is all right, but they should not be engaging in that, encouraging that inclination. They cannot be practicing according to that.
They should not be justifying it, and they should not, if they say that it is perfectly all right, that is unfavorable. But having such an inclination is natural. I mean, like even the Shastras talk about it. Actually, I was, one of my uncles is an astrologer. He has been an astrologer, that for generations, the whole family. So I was talking with him many years back, and he was telling me that in a particular latitude and longitude, in a particular location, within a particular nimesha or a minute, within that time, whichever child takes birth generally has a particular gender, male or female, and whichever child takes birth in the next minute, it has a particular gender. But generally, there are a few seconds gap between the two timings. And if somehow a child happens to take birth in that particular gap, then they tend to have, these kind of, transgender kind of either gross body or inclinations or same-sex attachments, these kind of things due to that, and they take birth during that particular gap, primarily due to their karma. But bhakti is not dependent on karma. So due to karma, just like due to karma, we may have some very sinful inclinations. So just because we have those sinful inclinations, that does not disqualify us from either practicing bhakti or getting initiated, as long as we are convinced that this inclination is sinful and I should diligently try to give it up. If I am convinced of that, then there is no problem. That is the meaning of samyak vyavasito hi saha. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhav sadureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hi saha. One is completely convinced that yes, this is not appropriate. I should try to give it up. But even though these sinful inclinations may not leave me, but I will not give up diligent practice of devotional service. One should be very convinced of that. So, but if one starts justifying it, look, you have attraction to the same sex, so you get married. Sorry, you have attraction to the opposite sex, so you get married. Similarly, we have attraction for the same sex, so we will also get married. If they are justifying it like that, and they think that there is nothing sinful about it, that is wrong. But you cannot penalize them just for having attraction towards the same sex, because ultimately that is that kind of attraction is born in them due to their past karma, and past karma does not influence. A bad past karma is not a reason for someone to be disqualified from practicing.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Right. Vahini Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, continuing the same question, Prabhuji, since last week I've been thinking about this situation. That is the temple ready to, receive them, and because generally, there are lines, separating males and female, to avoid. But if the temple is not ready, and like how it's a theoretically concept, just theorizing it, yes, we can be so broad-minded, we can welcome everyone. But I was thinking that we are not yet ready to have, women spiritual master as yet. Not like, I don't know what is GBC stand on this, but it's still in the process. So this will be like another, level of adjustment that the temple authorities may have to make, because, for them to have separate arrangements, and, how would we do it practically? That is the whole point. So any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Good you brought out this point. Actually, Gaudiya Vaishnavism has been institutionalized only in the past 100 years or so, not before Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It was just individual personalities who were practicing the Gaudiya Vaishnava practices. Only from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur onwards, the Gaudiya Math started, and following the footsteps of Gaudiya Math, Srila Prabhupada instituted ISKCON. So, but how much ever you may create an institution, but still the relationship between Guru and disciple is individual. That one should very clearly understand. So the institution may accept or may not accept, or there may be institutional issues, but that does not stop a guru from accepting a person of any gender, whether it may be male gender or female gender or transgender. from as a disciple. So whether an institution may accept or not, but the relationship between the jiva and the spiritual master is individual. It is not institutional. So the guru can actually accept a disciple who may belong to, the third gender, or someone who may be a gay or a lesbian, whatever it may be. I mean, when I say gay or lesbian, what I mean is they have attraction to the same sex, not that they justify it by telling that there is nothing wrong about it. No. So not in that sense. So don't get me wrong. So in that sense, there is nothing wrong. So the spiritual master can accept a disciple, whether the institution is immediately ready to accept it or not. That is, those are practical considerations when it comes to, doing that. But the spiritual master can definitely accept as a disciple anyone from the third gender. That there is nothing wrong in that. In fact, I would say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be very happy, because the floodgates opened for Jagai and Madai, and these people are not that bad. They are not murdering anyone, they are not looting anyone. They just because of their bad karma, they happen to be the third gender. What will they do? Can't they? Yes, the institution may not be ready, but the spiritual master can be ready, because the relationship is not institutional, it is individual. So therefore, the spiritual master can do it, and one need not necessarily wait for the institution to open. And how do you blend them into an institution? There are lot of practical issues with that. But when it comes to, but if they are properly educated, look, the institution is not ready. The institution may not be ready, and for them it is very easy to understand, because it's not just the ISKCON institution which may not be ready, but the outside institution also, they have always faced those taboos. But if an individual is ready, if an qualified individual spiritual master is ready to take their responsibility and elevate them and guide them, then they can be explained that, look, yes, I am a part of the institution, and the institution is not ready, but I as an individual, I am ready, and I am willing to take your responsibility. If you are willing to fulfill the duties of a disciple, I am willing to fulfill my duties as a spiritual master and handhold you and help you progress. That, as spiritual master, as an individual, can take that responsibility, and ideally any bona fide spiritual master will definitely take that responsibility, of course, with the institutional sensitivity, which means they may not be kind of they may with the institutional sensitivity, of course they can do it. So is that relevant, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, that explains it nicely. But yeah, it's a nice thought if it can be implemented, and if
it may already be maybe,
happening in some places. Some places.
Yeah,
true,
I mean,
true.
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj and others were way ahead. They were talking about decades before, actually, and they were already encouraging and nourishing and nurturing many such people, actually, already decades back, at least 2 decades back.
Yeah, and
So-
now all the more, because things are available online, and digital content is so much, so they can, even while sitting in their homes, even if they don't come to temple, or that face that institutional discrimination, they can still be in their homes, and they can practice bhakti. That's nice. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So much of encouragement and nurturing happens online. So there is no stigma involved there. You can encourage such people, or even offline. They may not necessarily come to the temple, but you can create a facility for them, and nurture them and encourage them in that direction. I don't think there is anything wrong with that. And ideally,
Yeah.
it should be done. Mm,
True. Everyone has should be given a chance. Why not?
of course,
Yeah, that's
because it may happen that the one who is very staunchly against encouraging them or initiating them, who knows, maybe they may get a son or daughter who may fall within that category, and they have
True.
spiritual inclination. What they will do? So I think recently I asked one devotee the same thing. Prabhuji, yes, I understand the whole thing, your point, etc. Yes, that is true. What would happen if a few years down the line your son comes and says that, my dear father, I'm like this, but I wish to be initiated and I wish to practice Krishna consciousness nicely. So would you go and tell your spiritual master that no, don't initiate him, don't encourage him, he has such kind of inclinations? So yeah, so yeah, I feel that they should definitely be encouraged, and this is perfectly according to Bhakti Siddhanta. If according to Siddhanta this is incorrect, then someone can tell me, I'm definitely willing to accept.
Yeah, true. And we have to be broad-minded enough to, I think, accommodate people coming from all classes. Yeah, I mean, we actually
just,
time should make us change a little bit. It shouldn't be like black and white and always.
It is not just broad-mindedness. It is just tell me according to Siddhanta, where am I going wrong?
Correct. Makes sense. True.
Forget about being the we are not talking about any modern
wokeism,
broad-mindedness, nothing like that. Just
true.
according to our Siddhanta, where is it wrong? Just tell.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Tarini Radhana. Whatever you have typed in the chat box, you can ask it verbally. That way we will save time.
Yes, Prabhu. So this is very nice to hear this, because modern times people are opening up so much to these people, and to set them aside is not seen very well. My only thing is, when it comes to initiation, then what about the fourth regulative principle then?
What is the fourth regulative principle?
Because there we say no illicit sex. So then if these people want to connect in this way which is not approved by Shastra, then that doesn't qualify them for initiation, no?
Exactly. That's why when a person who is attracted to the opposite sex, when he is promising a spiritual master, what is his promise? That I will follow the four regulative principles. So it is with all good faith. But does it ever happen that initiated devotees, after having initiated, sometimes may have troubles following the four regulative principles? Can it ever happen? Does it ever happen? Did you? Okay, you can stay unmuted so that we can have a conversation.
Definitely there are troubles, no doubt.
So,
I think this is by Shastra, this is blatantly sinful. No? It is not accepted.
Sinful. No.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling. If the person is very much determined, yes, I will not engage in this kind of union because I understand it is sinful. With that good faith, if he is willing to take responsibility, can't he be given? He is still attracted to the same sex, but he is willing to invest his best effort to avoid it. And just like a person who is attracted to the opposite sex, with all good faith and intention, he is promising a spiritual master that yes, I will avoid the four. I will try my best to follow the four regulative principles, and it may happen that he may sometimes fall short of the fourth regulative principle. So similarly, but with genuine repentance and full determination, if he is willing to rectify back, then the spiritual master gives him another chance. So similarly, this person also, with all good intention, is telling that yes, I know this is inappropriate. I will try my best to give it up and make my spiritual master proud. But in doing so, sometime it may happen that he may slip. So can he be given another chance or not?
Wouldn't it be better that he waits till because how important
Doesn't that same principle apply to those who are attracted to the opposite sex also? So what is the difference? Because ultimately, if does illicit sex with the opposite sex is less sinful than illicit sex with the same sex? I mean, when it comes to ultimately, it's illicit only. As long as the person, whether they are attracted to the opposite sex or the same sex, are very sincere and trying to put their full effort to progress on the path and are willing to take that commitment, they can be encouraged. I don't see any problem with that. I mean, the person is not justifying. So my question is, so such a person who is willing to progress in the path of devotional service, should he wait till his next life to actually get initiated? So I don't personally think that way. So as long as the person is willing to take responsibility to rectify his inclinations and trying to move forward, I don't think there is any problem with that. Is that okay, Mati?
Yes, Prabhu, I understand your stance.
Yeah, of course, there are institutional rules and regulations that may be there, but I don't see any from the Bhakti Siddhanta point of view, just like a person who may be struggling with conditionings, with respect to the opposite sex. Similarly, there may be people who may be struggling with conditionings with respect to the same sex. So as long as both are willing to take responsibility to diligently practice bhakti and try following the four regulative principles, I don't see any reason to actually encourage them in their practice.
Prabhuji, what is the reaction they would get or the spiritual master would get when they slip from the principle, from following the principle?
Good point. Okay, this is a very important question. Which we all have to understand. The same reaction that the spiritual master gets when a person slips, when a normal person slips in his promise, the same reaction that the spiritual master gets, the same reaction he may get when this abnormal person also slips. I don't think there is any difference. So because you asked this question, this from Hariman Chintamani, we have to understand under what circumstances a spiritual master is penalized. A spiritual master is penalized not because of the slipping of his devotee, but a spiritual master is penalized due to the insincerity of his disciple. So if the disciple is insincere and unwilling to properly rectify his issues, then the spiritual master, for his unwillingness to correct that wayward disciple, that insincere disciple, ideally the spiritual master should reject that disciple. So he rejects him not for his conditioning, but he rejects him for his insincerity. Okay, so it may happen that a person who is suffering due to illicit sexual thoughts towards the opposite sex, he may be very insincere to correct himself. Whereas a person who may be having attraction towards the same sex, he may be very sincerely trying to rectify himself. So we have to understand the spiritual master suffers due to the lack of sincerity of his disciple and not the degree of his conditioning of his disciple. That we should understand very clearly. So
the
as long as
sincerity is
the
shown in the sincerity is shown in the repentance and attempts to rectify.
attempts to rectify, not the ability to rectify, but the willingness to rectify.
Right, Prabhu.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, there are some comments. His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj used to preach by creating separate forum for these transgenders. Yeah, he did do. Amazing. What he did. This is. I mean, it was way ahead of time. Way ahead of time. Of course, he didn't do it directly under the umbrella of ISKCON because he was sensitive enough for that. But definitely, he did a lot for them. And this is amazing. I think that community will be forever, grateful because he opened the gates of bhakti for them. Otherwise, can you imagine? Are those personalities just meant to just travel in trains and clap their hands and ask for money from everyone? Is that, or should we just accept that that is their destiny and that's how they should live their life? Can't they worship Gaur Nitai at their home? Can't they sing Harinam Sankirtan? Can't they get initiated? No. Why not? Why not? Nrumatrasya adhikaritam. As long as someone has a human birth, they can practice bhakti. They can progress in bhakti. They can achieve perfection of bhakti. So why not? Are they on the level of animals that they should not be progressing on the path of bhakti? So we have to understand where is the problem in Siddhanta to encourage them. We are not encouraging their inclinations. We are understanding that they have a very peculiar form of conditioning. Just like we may have common conditionings. Ultimately, every conditioning has to be given up. Every unfavorable conditioning has to be given up. Whether it may be lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, pride. It should be given up. If they are willing to give it up, why they can't be encouraged? According to Siddhanta, can someone say why they should not be encouraged? I don't see any reason why they should not be encouraged. So, yeah, there is a comment here. And who knows, in previous births, they have been practicing bhakti and now just again they got an opportunity and they started it again. Yeah, that's also quite possible. Okay, next question. If I don't indulge in such activity, but how to stop contemplating? Yeah, the ability to stop contemplating comes from the purification of heart. Cheto darpana marjanam. That cheto darpana marjanam happens gradually only by the practice of devotional service. So we cannot say, okay, from today I will stop contemplating. It's not in our hands. Thoughts do not, take your permission and just enter our head. So therefore we cannot, yeah. Anyways, Nimi Maharaj says, who knows what will happen next? One should start immediately if one has faith. So next birth is too long. Yeah, true. Okay, there is another comment here. Hearing these conversations, I am only astonished by the dynamism of Vaishnavism, that the stretch is unimaginable, inconceivable. The goal is so superior than all other paths, yet it goes down to pick or provide chance to anyone who is at the bottom of the chunk. Yes, why not? Why not? Actually, Prabhupada Prabhupada said, go and chant Hare Krishna to the ant. That is the extent of compassion of these acharyas. We can't have that compassion. We would never chant on our own to an ant, go and chant Hare Krishna. We will never get this thought. But at least those who are looking like humans, can't we feel compassionate towards them? So definitely our acharyas were totally willing to extend it to the other species also. Are we even not willing to accept that they belong to our own species? They may have a dysfunctional, there are people who have dysfunctional polio attacked legs, polio attacked hands, blind people like our Champaklata Mataji is dealing with many blind children. People may be born blind. If people are born with a dysfunctional eye, with a dysfunctional heart, with a dysfunctional feet, it's okay. If they are born with a dysfunctional sexual orientation, I'm not telling it is because of no fault of theirs. Ultimately, any dysfunctional bodily part is due to their past karma only. But nevertheless, past is past. Now they have an opportunity to practice bhakti. Can't they practice? That is the point. Yeah, there is another question. Wrong thoughts of attraction to opposite sex. Does this mean breaking the fourth regulative principle? Because we may not have control over the thoughts in our mind. Yeah, there are various degrees of breaking the fourth regulative principle. The highest degree is when we don't even get such thoughts. But whether such a standard is the standard for getting initiation, probably not. At least within ISKCON, that's not the standard. But definitely one should be not willing to definitely indulge, and one should try one's best to not indulge. But to not even get that thought at any time, if that is the standard of initiation, then I think very few people would get initiated within ISKCON, I feel. Yeah, of course, Shivananda saying giving mercy to the dog. Why and which scriptures have put such people in a negative way? I don't know if there are any scriptures which they have. See, I do understand from an institutional standpoint, there may be challenges in integrating them within a functional society. I am not denying that fact at all. But what I am mentioning is not from an institutional standpoint, but the relationship between a guru and a disciple is personal. So on that level, one can definitely encourage them. So from the Bhakti Siddhantic perspective, I don't see any problem. Because ultimately, if the person has some hiccups, then it is the guru only who is going to suffer. We are just sitting and having a coffee table conversation about it here. Ultimately, the person who is going to suffer is the guru. If that guru is willing to take that chance, then we appreciate. Yes, so broad is your heart, so great is your compassion that you are willing to support them, even at the cost of, a chance that, if they are not able to follow, you may suffer. He says, yes, I'm willing to suffer. I wish to give them a chance, So, of course, with institutional sensitivity, one should be very sensitive about how the institution will perceive. But on a personal level, I don't think there is a problem with that. Yeah, possibly it's just a social thing and it's not scriptural at all, like the watered down version of the caste system. Yes, very, very good point. Very nice point. Yeah, probably it's not scriptural at all. At least I have not seen anything scriptural against this. Yeah, probably it's just a social thing. Yeah, we have to be very sensitive about social stigma and other such things. You can't say that such things don't exist. You can't just be, close your eyes and think like an ostrich that, okay, it does not exist. It's not like that. It does exist and we should be sensitive about it. But having said that, with institutional sensitivity, we also do understand that the relationship between a guru and a disciple is not institutional, it is personal. So even if the institution one day just breaks down and ceases to exist, still the relationship between a bona fide guru and a bona fide disciple exists and it eternally exists. Chakshudan Dilojai Janme Janme Prabhu say. It is eternal. The relationship between a bona fide guru and a bona fide disciple is eternal, irrespective of the, 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 the manifested presence or absence of the institution under which they might have, formalized that relationship like that. Since Arjuna accepted a transgender role, it may not have been such a bad thing at the time. Yeah, they did have, there were such personalities before, and they had particular roles in society. Yeah, I mean, whether it was such a bad thing, I don't know. From a social point of view, maybe there must have been some kind of stigma. Maybe, may not be. I'm not very much aware of it. But yeah, quite possible. Maybe. Okay, let's continue. Of course, this. Anyways, so in the previous verse, Krishna spoke about Jnana Yagyena Chapyanye Yajanto Mam Upasate Ekatvena Pratatvena Bahuda Vishwato Mukam. So yeah. So he says that Ekatvena is Ahangropasana, Pratatvena is Pratikopasana, and Vishwatomukam is Vishwarupa Upasana. So how does one worship in this Vishwarupa Upasana that is described in this 4 verses? Okay, let's start. Aham kratur aham yajna swadaham aham aushadam mantroham ahamevajyam aham agnir aham hutam pitaham masya jagato mata data pitamahah vedyam pavitram omkara riksama yajurevacha Pratirbarta Prabhusakshi Nivasa Sharanam Sukrit Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam Tapamyaham Maham Varsham Nigranam Yutsrijamicha Amritam Chaiva Mrityuscha Sadasachaham Arjuna. So Krishna says, Aham Kratuhu. I am the sacrifices mentioned in the Shruti and Smriti. Kratu also means sacrifice, Yagya also means the sacrifice. But they are, but so we may think that they are synonyms, but in the strictest sense, they are not synonyms. Actually, it is mentioned that Kratu means the sacrifices mentioned in the Shruti Shastras, and Yajna means the sacrifices which are mentioned in the Smriti Shastras. Swada Aham. Swada means the offering to the Pitrus. Aushadam means the herbs. Aham Aushadam. Mantroham. I am the mantra. Aham eva ajyam. I am the ghee which is offered in the sacrifice. Aham agnir aham hutam. I am the fire of sacrifice and I am the act of offering. Pitaham asya jagato. I am the father of the universe. Mata dhata pitamahah. I am the mother, I am the maintainer and I am the grandfather. Vedyam pavitram omkara. I am the object of knowledge. I am the purifier. I am Om. I am the Rig, Sama, Yajur, Vedas. I am the result. I am the master. I am the controller. I am the witness. I am the abode. I am the shelter. I am the friend. I am creation. I am destruction and maintenance. I am the treasure. I am the indestructible cause. I create heat. Tapamyaham. Aham varsham. Nigranami utsrijamita. I create heat. I withdraw rain and then I shower it. One may say, oh, isn't heat created by Agni? Isn't rain provided by Indra? Yes, but Indra is my, Indra is my hands. Agni is my mouth. Like that. Amritam chaiva mrityuscha. I am liberation and bondage, in the sense I am the source of liberation through the process of bhakti. I am the cause of bondage through the three modes which belong to uh, the three modes which belong to my material energy. Sad asatcha aham Arjuna. Whatever subtle and gross that you see in this material world, it is me, meaning it is my, you can say, energy. So here he says, worship of the totality of the vibhutis, thinking Vishnu is everything, is called as Vishwarupa Upasana. Vishnu is everything. In the second canto, for those of you who are attending the morning Bhagavatam sessions, there is Vishwarupa Upasana that we have been discussing about, worshipping the universal form. So, how can one worship you as Vishwarup in many ways? Bahuda Vishwato Mukam. What are the many ways of worshipping you in your Vishwarupa form? So the Lord speaks 4 verses in response. Okay. So these 4 verses describe how Vishwarupa Upasana is practiced in many ways. Okay. This is the question. So in these 4 verses he says, Kratu means sacrifices mentioned in the Shruti, like the Agnishtoma sacrifice. Yagya refers to sacrifices mentioned in the Smritis, like Vaishwadeva Homa. I don't know what these two are. They are certain sacrifices, not necessarily devotional. Aushadam refers to food made from herbs. I am the father because I give rise to individual and total ingredients of all the universes. Pitaham masya jagato. I am the mother because I hold within my womb the universe. Therefore, I am the mother. At the time of dissolution, everything goes inside the body of the Supreme Lord. Data, I am the nourisher of the universe in the form of the Paramatma. I am the grandfather because I produce the creator of the universe, Brahma. I am the object to be known and the object which purifies. Vedyam, Pavitram, like that. Omkara, Riksama, Yajurevacha. I am the result. I am the master. I am the controller. I am the seer of all good and bad things. I am the abode. I am the deliverer from dangers. And I am the motiveless benefactor. I am the act of creation, destruction, and maintenance. I am the treasures such as Padmanidhi and Shankanidhi. These are some of Kuvera's treasures. I am all of that. He says, which means I am the source of all that. The cause which is indestructible, Abhyayam Bijam, unlike rice and other seeds which are temporary. Nidanam Bijam Avyayam. So, Bijam means the cause. Mother is the cause of son, but the mother is not an eternal cause. So the mother is not an eternal cause. Of course, the mother will always remain the mother, at least in this particular life, but the mother may not remain. Right? Nidanam Bijam. It's not an Avyayam Bijam, unlike rice and other seeds which are temporary. So, whereas Krishna is Avyayam Bijam. So, anyways. So, being the sun, I cause the heat in the summer and shower rain in the rainy season, and sometimes I also hold back the rain. Utsrijami Nigrinami Utsrijami. Sometimes give, I sometimes hold back. I am liberation and repeated birth and death in bondage. I am the subtle and gross. Thus, the person thinking that I am all of this worships me as the form of universe. Even even the devotees, I mean, this does not mean that these descriptions are relevant only for the Vishwarupa Upasakas. Even the devotees understand all of this. But the devotees understanding all of this, they worship the form of Krishna. Whereas these Vishwarupa Upasakas, understanding all of this, they worship the Vibhuti form of the Supreme Lord, which is the Vishwarupa, the universal form. So these verses are thus connected with the last part of verse 15, which mentions the universal form, Bahuda Vishwato Mukam, the various forms of worshipping the universe. So, like that. So, okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share, ask, add? While you are raising your hands, just give me 1 second. I will just be back in a second. So please do raise your hands if you have any quick discussion points, comments, or questions. Okay. So if there are no discussion points, comments, or questions, let's move on. That was about the Vishwarupa Upasana. Now, we saw that there is pure devotional service which involves direct worship and pure goal. Okay. Less than that is mixed devotional service, which is direct worship and impure goal. Even lower than that is the Jnana Yajna, indirect worship and impure goal. Okay. Now, even lower than that, at least, there is acceptance of the form of the, there is at least acceptance of one absolute truth, which is Krishna, even though there is an indirect worship of that. But even lower than that is demigod worship or the path of Karmakanda. Okay. So, or material karma. So that is described in the next two verses. So 9.20 and 9.21 describe the result of material karma is temporary. Okay. The result of material karma is temporary. So 9.20. Traividyamam somapa puta papa yajnairishva swargatim prartayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva boghan. Trividya. So Trividya refers to the knowers of the three Vedas. Mam Ishtva, worshipping me indirectly. Actually, it should be improperly. Because already it is mentioned that, worship of the demigods is yajante avidipurvakam. It is improper. Anyways, so knowers of the Vedas, worshipping me indirectly, yajnair, through sacrifice, somapa, drinking soma, puta papa, and becoming purified, swargatim prartayante, they pray for swarga. Punyam asadya surendra lokam, attaining punya in the form of the planet of Indra, te ashnanti, they enjoy divyan divi deva bhogan, they enjoy in heaven the celestial pleasures of devas. So Trividya, the knowers of the three Vedas, indirectly worshipping me. So this is indirectly worshipping means they worship the various demigods by offering the oblations to them. Trividya mam ishtva yajnaihi, through sacrifice, somapa, drinking soma, puta papa, and becoming purified, swargatim prartayante, they pray for the achievement of swarga. Te punyam asadya surendra lokam, and attaining the punya in the form of attaining the heavenly planets. Te ashnanti, they enjoy divyan divideva bhogan, they enjoy in heaven the celestial pleasures of the devas. So he says, those devotees who worship me through those three methods and know me as the Supreme Lord become liberated. Okay. So which means this refers to 9.15. Okay. The three types. Ekatvena. Okay. Pritatvena. And Bahuda Vishwatomukam. So at least they get liberation. Even though it is Sayujya Mukti, but at least they get liberation. These three types of devotees are classified as inferior to the other types and performed Jnana Yajna as a part of Bhakti. Because the worship is inferior to that of Ananya and mixed devotees, they attain less than Salokya. They attain only Sayujya Mukti. So we saw, right, three categories. This they attain prema. Pure practitioners of pure devotional service attain prema. Practitioners of mixed devotional service at least attain Salokya. And these practitioners of Jnana Yajna, they attain Sayujya. Okay. And these Karmakandiya practitioners, they attain temporary material benefit. Okay. So, but those who follow material karma do not become liberated. This is explained in 2 verses. Those who study and know the 3 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, and Sama, are those who are absorbed in the karmas described in those 3 Vedas, not knowing that Indra and the other devatas are actually my forms, and consequently worship me indirectly through worshipping those forms, bring the remnants of the sacrifice, and thus attain punya. So they are actually demigod worshippers. They are actually demigod worshippers. So then what happens? Te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punye martyalokam vishanti evam trayi dharma manuprapanna gatagatam kama kama labante tam vishalam swargalokam bhuktva. Having enjoyed the vast pleasures of swarga, shine punye, and exhausting their punya, because they go there on the strength of their punya. When that punya gets over, then they have to come back. Shine punye. Martyalokam vishanti. They return to this planet. Martyaloka. Evam, in this way, Trayidharmam anuprapanna, following the rites of the 3 Vedas, kama kama, and desiring the objects of enjoyment, gata agatam labante. They take repeated birth and death. So these personalities They perfectly follow the rules of the three Vedas. The rules of the three Vedas means the Karma Kandiya rules of the three Vedas they follow. And they enjoy in Swarga as long as their punya allows, and after that they come back to the Martya Loka to perform their karma again. So Bhagavatam calls this, giving the green grass to the cows, feeding the green grass to cows, and milking the cow. So feeding the green grass is performing karma, okay, in the human form, and milking the cow is, enjoying the results of one's karma by going to the heaven, etc. Of course, human life in Bharata Varsha, that is the only species where karma is performed. Only species and only place where karma is performed. Karma is accrued, good karma or bad karma. All the other species and all the other places in these 14 planetary systems, they are all either punya upabhoga sthanas or shesha or papa upabhoga sthanas. They are either places where one exhausts one's punya or papa by enjoyment or suffering. Okay. So Swarga is not the only punya upabhoga sthana. There are other shesha punya upabhoga sthanas. Like these are called as bilaswargas. So it is like if one in a human body accumulates lot of pious credits, good enough to go to Swarga. It's not that when he is kicked out of Swarga, all his piety becomes zero. It is not like that. Okay, it is just like someone has 5,000 rupees. Okay, and he goes to a big mall to purchase things. Okay, so but even the smallest object that you can purchase in that big mall, let's say, it costs 500 rupees. So he goes to the mall and let's say he spends 4,600 rupees. He has 400 rupees left with him, which means he cannot purchase anything in that mall because the cost of the lowest cost of any item there is 500 rupees. So he cannot purchase anything in that mall, but that does not mean he has no money in his pocket. He still has 400 rupees left. Okay. So he goes to a smaller shop to continue shopping. Okay. In that shop, he can purchase anything, but the lowest cost that he can purchase is actually 50 rupees. Let's say of the 500 rupees that is left, he exhausts 460 rupees. He has 40 rupees left, but he cannot purchase anything in that shop. Okay. So then with that 40 rupees, he comes to the platform. Okay. There are many shops in the platform, they are selling some small trinkets. Okay. Which he can purchase, 1 rupee, 2 rupees, whatever, like that. So Swarga is like that mall, which persons with lot of piety, they can go there. With lot of piety, they can go there. But once they exhaust that piety, it is not necessarily that they will directly come to Martya Loka. They may have some 400 rupees. Okay, they may have some 400 rupees with which they can purchase something. So they may go to these Bilaswargas. These Bilaswargas are called as Shesha Punya Upabogastan. Shesha Punya Upabogastan means whatever leftover punya is there, you try to enjoy it in these Bilaswargas. Okay. And let's say there also they exhaust and they have some 40 rupees left out of the 5,000 rupees, 40 rupees left. So they come to the Martyaloka, which is Bharat Varsha, they get a human form. Those with 40 rupees, they may become, Sachin Tendulkar or Joe Biden or Narendra Modi, like that, leaders of countries, or President Vladimir Putin, whatever, So if you have 40 rupees worth of punya, you may become these great personalities. But people may have like 1 rupee, 2 rupees worth of piety left, so they may become ordinary human beings in this material world. So like that. So practically, except for this Bharata Varsha, human form in Bharata Varsha, all other species and all other places in these 14 planetary systems, they are all either Sesha Punya or Sesha Papa Upabhogasthana. Okay, like that. So, okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, or questions on this particular topic? Okay, yes, Tarini Radhaman.
Can you also explain about the lower planets? Because it seems that there is enjoyment available in the lower planets also. So what's the difference?
Yeah, so these lower planets, sometimes they are also called as Bilaswargas. So Bilaswargas means, I gave the example of the smaller shop.
Okay.
So
okay,
those
so that's
kind
the
of
lower planets which are called Bilaswarga.
Yes. Some of the lower planets are called as Bilaswargas. I don't exactly remember. These are described in the 5th canto. Whether all the lower planets are Bilaswargas, I am not very sure, but some of the lower planets are Bilaswargas, where there is higher quality enjoyment than what is available on the Bhuloka. But it is much lesser than what is available in the Swarga. So they are like intermediate places of enjoyment, like that.
So it is not like hellish, no? Some only Patala is hellish.
Yeah, there are other. I don't exactly recollect the geographical location, but there are places where the hellish planets, hellish sufferings, hellish planets are there, where people with extreme form of papa, they go and suffer there. But there are gradations also of that hell. Just like there are Sesha Punya Upabhogastanas, like these Bilaswargas. Similarly, there are Shesha Papa Upabhogastanas also. So not every suffering warrants such an excruciating punishment. There are places where some, the life is much more difficult than what you see in the Bhuloka, but it's not as excruciating as what you see in the, actual hellish planets. There are intermediate places also. So depending on the nature and the amount of sinful reactions, there are gradations of places where people can suffer or enjoy, like that.
Is it that lower planetary system God consciousness is absent or very less, anything like that?
Probably. I'm not very sure. I'm just trying to scratch my memory to see if such a description is there in Bhagavatam. Maybe, not necessarily though. Of course, Sutala is below this thing where Bali Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, they all are staying. So how they reach those planets also depends. But in general, they may be less God conscious than and then the human beings on Bharatavarsha, probably. Is that okay, Madhu?
Compared to Swarga, I'm trying to understand that Swarga, there are options to go to Swarga, but given that there is enjoyment in the lower planetary system, also no one works to go there, no one does karma kanda to go there. So I'm trying to understand the difference between the higher planetary system and lower planetary system.
Yeah, it depends on the degree of enjoyment that is available. It is 5-star enjoyment in Swarga, 2-star enjoyment in the Bila Swargas, and half a star enjoyment or no star enjoyment in the Bhuloka planets.
Oh,
It's like that.
oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, there is another question. Many times this question comes, do they take birth again in the same family? One who falls down from Swarga? No, I don't know. Maybe not. It depends on their karma. I have no idea whether they take birth in the same families. Probably not. I don't think so. You said one can go to Swarga from down or fall from higher planets. No, I don't know. I don't understand the question, Prabhu. Can you please verbally say I don't understand your question?
Dandavat Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Dandavat.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Some time change, so it has been a little conflicting for me. So yes, I just wanted to understand for Swarga, people who are basically doing demigod worship, they go to that higher planet. But do they fall from the upper planet also, like the people who are engage in some other sort of practices, and they have been rewarded to go there? But once it starts basically chaya, once it starts consuming, do they fall to Swarga, or there is only one way to go to Swarga?
Yeah, one can go to Swarga through piety, or one can go to Swarga through these Krama Mukti also. If you remember, we had discussed. I mean, I don't know if you attend the morning Bhagavatam sessions. The morning Bhagavatam sessions in the second canto, we discussed about the the Krama Mukti, where practitioners of the kind of yoga, they as intermediate stops, they go to these Swargic planets also, but they do not fall down because they don't go there on the strength of their piety, but they go there on the strength of their yogic practice. Vidya Tapo Yoga Samadhi Bhajam. So not everyone in Swarga is actually there on the strength of their piety. But those who go there only on the strength of their piety, these kind of Karmakandiya people, they fall down. But those who are practicing the gradual path of yoga, they also go there, but they don't, because they don't go there on the strength of their piety, but on the strength of their yoga, so they don't fall down from there.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, I attend the morning Bhagavatam class, and I had heard something like that. But thank you, Prabhu. It helps.
Mother Gail.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Yeah, my issue is about the fact that although people are worshiping demigods, it is considered pious. I mean, I know the Vedas, they don't recommend it, but still the prescription is there if that's where your faith is. So if you are following that prescription that's offered in the Vedas, then it's considered pious. Yet that piety is binding to this material world.
Correct.
Yes. But it's interesting to me that we see sinful activity where people are not following any Vedic injunctions. That is called impiety, even though that too is also binding. So, it's like I feel like there is this like unspoken conception that pious activities are, I'm thinking out loud actually, pious activities are not binding, whereas impious activities are binding. But both, as long as they're material, both pious and impious activities are both binding, no?
Yes. So yeah, you are perfectly correct. So the whole question is about what is the level of the person with whom we are having this conversation. So those who are those who are absolutely, those who have no idea about transcendental reality, for them material world is all in all. Or like as Prabhupada says, use this example of grade grade 1 prison cell or grade 2 prison cell. So for those who are unaware of life outside the prison, for them they may be fighting for a higher grade prison cell. But for those who are aware of life outside prison, then they don't make a distinction between grade 1 prison cell or grade 2 prison cell. For them, everything is prison and they wish to go out of the prison. So therefore, for such persons, piety or impiety is both binding, so therefore inferior. So the definition of inferior and superior is ultimately very contextual and dependent on one's qualification. So someone who has the understanding of liberation, for him, this piety, impiety is all bad. It is all useless. Swarga or hell are both, in one sense, useless. There is
Or
no
sometimes
point.
or sometimes we hear auspicious or inauspicious, right? They're both.
Yeah. So that's what Chaitanya Charitamrita says. Dvaite Badra Badra Gyan Ei Saba Brahma. Ei Bhalo Ei Manda Saba Manodharma. This is what Chaitanya Charitamrita says. What is pious, what is impious? Everything is, in one sense, impious only. Because it binds you. Because it binds you to the material world. So someone may say, so one who is aspiring for liberation may say, ultimately liberation is what matters. So all the other piety and impiety will bind you to this material world. It doesn't matter. But you ask a devotee who is attached to Krishna Prema, he will say that liberation is hellish from his perspective, because he has been exposed to a higher reality than even impersonal liberation. So it depends on on what level we are having the conversation. So then the definition of what is good, what is bad, what is auspicious, what is inauspicious, it will keep on changing depending on what level we are having this conversation.
Right. Perfect, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay, one last comment question. We will end here. There is a comment in the chat box. I will just take that. 5th canto, 24th chapter, 8th verse says, in these 7 planetary systems, which are also known as the subterranean heavenly planets, Vilaswarga, there are very beautiful houses, gardens, and places of sense enjoyment, which are even more opulent than those in the higher planets, because the demons have very high standard of sensual pleasure, wealth, and influence. Most of the residents of those planets are known as Daityas, Danavas, and Nagas, live as householders. Their wives, children, friends, and society are all fully engaged in illusory material happiness. The sense enjoyment of the demigods is sometimes disturbed, but the residents of these planets enjoy life without disturbances. Thus, they are understood to be very attached to illusory happiness. Yeah. So sometimes it may be a greater sense enjoyment, but it may not be subtler. It may not be subtler. Like for example, people who are attached to rock music and very loud music and lot of music with lot of uh, uh, intoxicating beverages, they may think that they are experiencing more enjoyment than a person who may be sitting in a classical music concert and enjoying, the singer actually playing some gymnastics with one particular note, and they may be wondering, what are these people doing? Crazy people sitting there, and there is no, the music is not loud enough, there are no intoxicating beverages, there is no dancing, so someone may think that, oh, there is more enjoyment there, but the enjoyment that the person who is sitting inside that auditorium and enjoying that classical music concert, he is enjoying a much more subtler level of enjoyment. So the enjoyment in the subterranean planets is more gross than what is available in the heavenly planets. But definitely, for a person who has a gross vision, he will see the grosser the enjoyment, the more is the enjoyment. So it depends on from whose perspective. Because the same Bhagavatam says that these Bilaswargas are Shesha Punya Upabhogastam, which means after enjoying in Swarga, whatever leftover Punya is there, you come to these Bilaswargas and enjoy. So now, what is greater enjoyment or higher or lesser enjoyment depends on the perspective of the seer. So, so there is more grosser enjoyment available in these Bilaswargas, which may be perceived by the sense gratifiers to be higher enjoyment, but which is not probably the perspective of the residents of heaven. That is my understanding. Okay, I think we will pause here, and it's already time. But before you drop out, please do not drop out. Okay, I just wanted to add that today is 10th of November. 17th and 24th of November is Kartik break. So we will again be meeting on 1st of December only. Just a reminder for you. So the next Gita session will be on 1st of December. So starting from 15th of November onwards, next Wednesday onwards, we will till 26th of November, 15th to 26th of November, we will not have the morning Bhagavatam session, the afternoon Brihad Bhagavatamrita and 10th Canto sessions, and the evening Jaivadharma on Monday, Tuesday, Krishna Smarana Spurti on Wednesday, the Thursday private session, and the Friday Bhagavad Gita session. We will not have from 15th of November till the 26th of November. So directly we will be meeting for our Gita session on the 1st of December only. 15th to 26th is Kartik break. Just a reminder for all of you. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful Kartik month, remaining Kartik month. We will meet again post Kartik on the 1st of December. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.